So the next part I'm going to show you how to make is the flip-flops here. So I've already made one, as you can see. So I'm just going to make a small oval shape out of double crochets, and then I'm going to line the bottom with slip stitches so that it has more of a platform for him to stand on. So as you can see, it's about the same size as the bottom of his foot. It's a little bit bigger. So I'm going to show you how to do the other one. I'm going to start off with a slip knot. And now I'm going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now I'm going to slip stitch down the down this chain so that I don't have any holes in the middle of my foundation row. So I'm going to insert my hook into the third chain from the end. And then I'm going to pull up a loop. And now I'm going to slip stitch. And I'm going to slip stitch in each space until I get to the end of the chain. And here's my last slip stitch. So this is going to be the middle of the oval, and I'm going to work some double crochets all the way around. So I'm going to chain 2, and that'll be my first stitch. So now I'm going to turn the work around. This is my first stitch. So since I'm doing double crochet, I'm going to yarn over first, insert my hook into the second stitch of the row, and double crochet. Pull through 2, and pull through 2. So I'm going to double crochet in each stitch going all the way around, and at this top corner here I'm going to increase, and then I'm going to increase again at the corner of the other side. So double crochet, double crochet, and now I'm at the corner, so I'm going to insert my hook and double crochet once, and then increase, double crochet again into the same space. Okay. Now I'm going to do 1 double crochet in the middle, and then I'm going to increase again in the next. So there's 1 double crochet, and now I'm going to increase again. So here is a second double crochet in the same space, and now I'm going to double crochet until I get to the end of the row. So I'm at the last double crochet of the row. I'm going to insert my hook and double crochet. Okay. So now I've got the oval shape done. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch all the way around. So first I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to insert my hook into the bottom of the row and slip stitch. Now I'm going to insert my hook into the bottom of the next stitch, and I'm going to slip stitch again. And now I'm just going to slip stitch in the top of every stitch. Okay, so now I am done with the last slip stitch of the row. So I'm going to cut off my yarn here, but I'm going to leave a tail. And I'm going to use that tail to sew on the front of the flip-flops to his feet. So as you can see, I have sewn on this one flip-flop, and I didn't sew the entire thing to the back so that it would look more, so that it would have a more realistic look. But if you wanted to, you could sew the whole thing on around and then put on the straps. But I'm just going to sew it on using only the straps. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that the slip stitches that I made are facing the bottom of the work. And then I'm going to take my tail and I'm going to sew it so that it is sticking out of the middle of the bottom of the foot. As you can see, I did on this side, I did that on this side so that I could sew this middle piece from the middle of the bottom of the shoe up through the middle of the top of the foot. So I'm going to do that same thing with this shoe. So the first thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to insert my needle back up through the middle of the shoe. And then I'm going to stick my needle straight up through the top of the foot from the bottom. And I'm going to try to make it about even with where I did it on the other side. Okay, so now the shoe is attached to the foot in about the same spot. So I'm going to take my needle down and I'm going to put it through the middle of the bottom piece. So now the middle part of the shoe is done on that side. So now I'm going to move my needle through so that it is coming out of the side right here. So I'm going to sew it through the bottom of the shoe and bring it out on this side here. So now that I've got the needle coming out through the side of the shoe, I'm going to insert my hook through the side of the foot on both sides, come out the other side, and I want to make sure that it's just about even with the shoe on the other side, which it is. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out my needle on the other side of the foot. And now, as you can see, there is a spot on the side of the foot that's going to be marked so that I can go across this top part. As you can see, there's a mark on this side. So I'm going to sew the foot to the shoe on the other side and just bring my needle straight through again to the other side of the foot. Okay. So now we're almost done with this shoe. I'm just going to pull my needle along the top of the foot, and I'm going to insert it into the very top of the middle stitch that I first made. Okay. And now I'm going to go straight through to the other side and insert into the top of that mark on the side that I made. And then finish that stitch straight across. Okay. So that is pretty much all that I have to do for the shoe, and now I have to sew this end into the bottom of the shoe. Well, now I've finished sewing the ends in on both sides, and now the shoes are complete. So next I'm going to show you how to make the shirt. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to do is the shirt, and I'm going to start using this yellow yarn, and I'm going to make a yellow circle. So I'm going to start by doing a magic circle to begin my row. I'm going to wrap my yarn around my finger one time, and then I'm going to pull a loop up through the middle of that circle, and then chain one. Okay? Let me tighten my circle just a little. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to chain one more, and that's going to count as my first stitch. And then I'm going to add 5 more stitches to this circle. Okay, and there's my 5th stitch. So now I have a total of 6 stitches on my circle, so I'm going to pull the tail and close the circle. Okay. So now there's not that much of a hole in the middle, and I'm going to continue. So for the next row, I'm going to continue in the stitch, the first stitch that I made. So I'm going to insert my hook into that stitch, and then I'm going to increase every stitch of this row. So I'm going to single crochet once, and then single crochet one more time in the same stitch. I'm going to take my tail and I'm just going to mark this first stitch so that I can bear in mind where the beginning of the row is. And now I'm going to continue and increase every stitch of the row. So I've gotten to the end of this row, and the circumference of the circle is going to need to be about the same as where the points of the star are. And as you can see, they're not quite there yet. So I'm going to make my circle one more row bigger. So in this next row, I'm going to increase every other stitch. So here's the first stitch of the row. I'm just going to single crochet once in that stitch. And then in the second stitch of the row, I'm going to increase. So I'm going to single crochet twice in the same stitch. Okay. And I'm going to pull up my tail just so that I can, once again, bear in mind where the beginning of the row is. I'm just going to leave it coming off of that first stitch of the row. And now I'm going to continue to increase every other stitch. So this stitch is not increased, and this stitch will be increased. So there's 1 and 2. And I'm going to continue doing this until I get to the beginning of the row. Okay, so I've gotten to the beginning of the row again. So now I'm just going to slip stitch down to that first stitch that I made. And then I'm going to cut off my yarn. And I'm going to leave a long tail. And I'm going to use the tail to outline the star after I'm done adding the red. Okay, so I'm going to use the red yarn now to cover up certain spots on my yellow circle in order to make it into a star shape. As you can see, I've done one little triangle cutaway already, but I'm going to undo that so that I can show you how to get this look. And just so that you can see what it's supposed to look like before I start. So, I'm going to take my red yarn, and I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to go 2 stitches away from where I stopped my circle. And I'm going to insert my hook into the back loop. Then I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 1. Now this is going to be the top of one leg of the circle. So now I need to go in and cover up a triangle of yellow. And I'm going to do 3 stitches of single crochet to do that. So I'm going to pull my loop up right here at the bottom of this first circle of the first row that I made. I'm going to insert my hook into that first row and pull up a loop and pull it up so that it's about even with where my first loop is. And then I'm just going to single crochet right there. And now I'm going to add 2 more stitches to the same space. So single crochet 1, 2 more times. And now I have a small triangle cut away from the circle. Now when you're done with this part, what you're going to have is going to be something that looks like this. You're going to have just 5 legs in like a rough star shape, and then I'm going to use the tail to outline and make the star look a little bit more clear. So I'm going to show you how to get that look now. You basically just do the same thing that you did for that first triangle, but in a spot all the way around the first row. As you can see, all of the spaces that I'm going to be working in are a little bit pulled apart because I did it once already. And it doesn't have to be exact. You are going to be outlining with the tail later, so it can look a little bit rough. So I'm just going to single crochet right here again. And now in the space right here at the bottom next to the first row, I'm going to, just as I did last time, pull up a loop and pull it up to where my other loop is and single crochet. And I'm going to do that 2 more times in that space. Okay. And now I'm going to single crochet into the back loop of this stitch. And now I'm going to single crochet 3 times into the bottom space. Oops. And then I'm going to single crochet to the next stitch, and then once again do my 3 single crochets to the bottom. And single crochet to the top stitch, and then 3 single crochets to the bottom. Okay, and now I've come all the way around. So now I'm going to single crochet to the very next stitch. I'm going to just go ahead and pull up that loop for now so that I can outline the rest of the star.